GB News understands that the UK authorities are currently responding to multiple incidents in the English Channel with those people smugglers sending more inflatables into the water in pretty poor weather conditions. Well, our Home Security Editor Mark White joining us in the studio with the latest on it as ever. Mark, what are we learning from the lifeboat crews and so on?
Well, 7 separate incidents that the Dungeness, Dover, Ramsgate lifeboats have been responding to, along with Border Force vessels. The most worrying incident reports that a person was seen clinging to the Colbert Light buoy, which is about 9 miles off the Kent coast. They were seen clinging and waving from that. The authorities have gone out there. They've apparently found some personal belongings on that light buoy, but no sign of anyone there. And the fear is that they may well have been just swept out into the sea now.
And the human cost yet again of this.
Well,
and you know, you've been reporting that a lot of them on the boats are single men, many Albanians, but reports maybe that there are children on some of these boats as well at the moment.
Yeah, more than 80% of those that come across are young male people on the boats. But yes, there are some women and children on the boats as well. And it is, of course, you know, for them, an arduous crossing and
Life
very
and death,
cold.
yeah.
And today, particularly 30-mile-an-hour winds in the channel, high waves, which for a big vessel is not a problem, but for a flimsy inflatable, it's treacherous. And, you know, authorities are concerned that it's, you know, may only be a matter of time before we see another mass drowning like we did in November of last year when 27 people died.
Yeah, and an indication yet again, these people smugglers, of course, have no hesitation in just pushing people off in whatever conditions. Now, the other issue is you were actually down in Kent yesterday at Manston at one of these processing centres. We say processing, but they're effectively being held there. Now, we've had an urgent question in the Commons within the last few minutes on that particular issue.
Yes, the Manston Processing Centre, it's supposed to deal first of all with those arriving within a few hours, a day at most, and then they're sent out to interim accommodation like hotels and then onward to council housing stock. However, because of the volume coming across the channel, there are actually, some of these people are in what are described as less than ideal conditions for weeks, sometimes more than a month at a time. So there was an urgent question from the chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee to the new Immigration Minister, Robert Jenrick, who has won that post, arguably the most difficult job in government. So this is that exchange that took place just a short time ago.
The situation at the Manston facility for cross-channel migrants constitutes a major incident that is escalating in severity. The Independent Chief Inspector of Borders and Immigration just yesterday described it at the Home Affairs Select Committee, and I quote, a really dangerous situation, and had left him speechless.
I was of course concerned to read the evidence that was presented to her committee yesterday by David Neal, the Independent Chief Inspector. I will be meeting Mr Neal next week and will be listening to his concerns directly, and I intend to visit Manston as soon as possible, hopefully next week.
So Robert Jenrick there undertaking that he'll visit Manston next. I mean, what are the alternatives? If they shut it down or take it out of the system, where do all these people go?
They can't shut it down. It's the processing centre where, you know, the initial details, documents are handed over, they're given food and clothing and just made ready to be passed on to the interim accommodation in hotels. What they will have to do, because of the numbers coming across, is actually expand the facilities and make them more capable of housing people not just for a day, but actually for weeks at a time. It's not ideal. It is an emergency situation. It's something that Robert Jenrick and, of course, Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, are going to have to address as a matter of urgency. The previous Home Secretaries have failed to impact this problem. Let's see what they do.